and welcome to a potentially disastrous episode of Radio Loud.
You might call it implosive.
I'm your host, Dougie Delph, Douglas Dobert, and joining me today is
Stefan Weber.
And our other member died. Rest in peace.
Can you just show his empty chair?
Oh, the camera's not on. We should have just got like we used to do it.
A blow-up doll.
What we used to do Ursa, that's my girl. What we used to do at band practice is when our vocalist wouldn't show up, they just had this fucking cardboard cutout of a NASCAR driver. We just put in front of
like Jeff Gordon or some shit. Oh, that'd be good.
Right. Yeah, tonight we have Danica Patrick.
It's just her smiling. Oh, I love it.
Oh, man. No.
Yeah, rough waters and choppy seas ahead.
Yeah, next week we will not be having an episode. So mark your calendars, don't tune in.
Not that it's over, but I'll be out of town, and with Sean having stepped away from the project, unfortunately, it'll give us some time to recuperate as I'll be out of town for the entire weekend. So,
this might be a shorter one today.
I think we still can do it.
Right.
I mean, we were looking in for some stand-ins, but obviously with such short notice, it's hard to garner people, especially on a wonderful, beautiful Friday, such as it is today.
So, it's having just like kind of like one of those weeks at work where do you have like an area of work that is not to seem sexist or anything, but is like occupied by
mostly
primarily women?
And then people go, "Oh yeah, it's women's work over there. You don't want to do that." That is a thing.
Not that we say it like it is women's work or anything like that.
Oh, people say that.
Well, yeah, people say it.
I'm just like, be careful because you'll end up over there.
Right.
You're not so hot yourself.
So I wanted to comment on is not necessarily like the work, but just like being in that situation where it's like you're one of the only men in that situation. Because I'd like walk in and out of it. Like there's a computer problem or something like that I had to check out. And most of them have had kids, and they're just in there talking about their babies. Oh.
Come and see the baby.
And it's just like, I gotta like get my kid to soccer practice like right after work, and then we gotta drive over town.
But I mean, that's what becomes your entire life, because all of the stuff they want to do eats all the time of the stuff that you may want to do. So
it's
live
basically
vicariously through your child.
I've had people like at work say it's like, "Oh, I'm living vicariously through you, Doug." like as another male who's like, "Oh yeah, I got 2 kids and I'm married now, so
live it up for me, champ."
Basically, like even like men that have kids too, they'll be talking about their kids, and I'll just walk up and I'll just be standing there and observing it, and I'll just be like, "Man, guys, I am going to get sterilized tonight."
Get the vasectomy.
Go get that fucking speed cannon over there. Get that radar gun and fry me up. Like,
set my testicles in a microwave real quick.
Just fucking singe me up, man. Fuck me up, fam. Could you imagine that backfiring? Like, basically, you intend to just like curdle your sperm, but you just end up
with cottage cheese balls.
No, you end up with like mutated DNA in your balls and
what, I'm shooting out silly string. Or Cheese Whiz, probably. It'd probably be like Cheese Whiz. Just disgusting.
Jesus. Oh my God. That's like I saw something kind of like that. It was like some like giant worms that somebody was doing a reaction video, because I was like, I'm in this like struggle of like trying to promote this shit, and you get a little deep into YouTube.
See the weird shit.
Yeah, you see the weird shit, and then there's like creators creating like reaction videos, and one was like to like this fucking giant worm or whatever, and it was just entitled "It Squirts."
That's a good title.
Yeah, it is a good fucking title. Like, it drew me in, but I was just like, I can't sit through this cringy shit.
Did it squirt?
Yeah, it did squirt. Saw like a fucking
So, like, what? It shot stuff out of its head?
I saw this fucking, like, in related content, like, to that, Bear Grylls out in the wild.
Yeah, he drinks his own piss.
Yeah, he drinks his own piss and shit like that. Not and shit, but...
I mean, maybe.
Hey, man, if it was fucking rough enough.
It's warm.
There's that thing where he eats the grub, and he's just, like, cringing at, like, doing it, and he, like, puts it in his mouth, and then he's just like, and then it just fucking explodes, like, this fucking, like, pustule mass.
Right on the camera?
No, just like right out of his mouth, like to like it's just like insides and guts, and he's able to just like, you'd think it would just be liquidy, but he's able to just like take it off his mouth and like toss it away.
So it's like a dangling booger. That's disgusting. Bear Grylls is kind of gross.
I mean, I enjoyed it, even though like Survivor Man was supposed to be like more authentic.
I liked Survivor Man a lot more.
I didn't like it more. I thought like the presentation of the
His
Bear
escapes
Grylls.
seemed very staged, though. It'd just be like, oh, look, we found this canoe.
Bear Grylls thing?
No, Survivor Man.
Oh.
He'd be like, oh, look, I found a canoe, and now I'm going to take it downriver to civilization because some hunter left it here. It's like, sure they did.
Well, wasn't his whole thing like, oh, I'm by myself and I'm filming myself?
His would be an accident happens. He gets stranded in an inhospitable environment or one that you would really not desire to be in. Like there was one, he was trapped in northern Canada. His like plane, quote unquote, crashed. I think that's actually the exact episode where he found a hunter's canoe, massive quotations there, and then took it downstream after being up in the northern wilderness for about a week or something, because I think he only stays out for about a week. But he did one where it was trapped in the Sahara, like your Jeep breaks down or XYZ. But it's always about surviving the environment for X amount of time and then trying to make your way back to civilization.
Yeah, and then miraculously...
Yeah, make it out.
Oh, there's a helicopter pad with a private helicopter right here. Oh, thank God.
I think in the desert one he might have got picked up by Bedouins or something. I don't remember. God. It was a long time ago because that was Discovery Channel back in the day when it wasn't just Pawn Stars.
I also saw came across some like really majestic HD footage. It was like some 4K footage of
like Planet Earth shit.
No, it was just like a YouTube video. I don't know what it was like necessarily, like what was behind it, what was the intent of it being on YouTube, but it was just like some beautiful shots of the Sahara. And like just it was like it started with like a caravan of people, like nomads with camels, and just like shots of the dunes and showing how like arid it is. And then there's this fucking like train that like comes across it. There's like a huge train line that goes through there, and they're like some of like the longest and most heavy in the world. That just seems like the worst place to get fucking like stranded in the middle of like nowhere on a train.
I would rather be stuck in a train than...
You'd rather be a saturation diver?
Yeah. I'd rather be stuck on a train than some of the other scenarios. There
was like another fear thing involved with like thalassophobia that I found when we were talking about like
that's a fear of open water.
Yeah, just like depths. Yeah.
Cthulhu.
Like what's down? Yeah, Cthulhu's down
anglerfish.
there. There's another one.
It's just perpetual darkness.
It's like being afraid of like being next to like giant machines in water, like be them like wrecks or nuclear submarines.
Okay.
Or
I was
hulls.
a little confused. I was like, "What are you? Giant robots underwater? What are you talking about? Like
Yeah,
caterpillars?"
Pacific Rim 3, man.
And that was in thalassophobia. Just
No,
like
it
being
was
in shipwrecks.
There was an entire another subreddit devoted to just that. Because there's like
I could see
subreddits,
that.
and then there's like the related like sister subreddits, and a lot of them.
Creeping around a shipwreck kind of would give me the willies underwater. Especially, I remember we'd watch those. Is that James Cameron, the Discovering Titanic?
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember watching that on in school and being slightly unnerved, just like, they're just gonna find a dead body in the next camera shot. But just sweeping, because it would be almost completely pitch black. You're just floating around with a flashlight.
That's something you never really saw. Like when they did all those documentaries, maybe they just like edited it out because like the kids were interested in it, and it was like during the time that the Titanic was like a hot shit movie. But like, where are all like the Titanic lich? You know? Yeah,
they're definitely not in the video. They've obviously been edited out, but there's got to be a ton on that boat,
right?
And like, they're not going anywhere.
Like, how does like bones underwater survive? Do they just like get eaten away, or
I don't know. I imagine it's something similar to down lumber, where it actually takes longer to. At least the bones, I imagine it would take longer to decompose, because when like a tree gets downed, the part underwater doesn't decay at the same rate above water. The stuff
really? It decays slower?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Seems weird, but that's at least what I've seen out fishing and stuff.
Right. You would think that with like the water and its ability to like harbor bacteria and shit like that, and just like keep shit alive, that would be like just like a hotbed for shit to eat it.
Right. They're just not interested, though. They just don't want any of that.
All right, so I'm going to go into some news. We got like a way we could like translate through like a couple of the stories. We have that Steam one about crypto.
Yeah, you want to start there? Because I'm actually slightly familiar with that story. And I'm glad we're going to news, because my work week was terrible.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, no, I just closed the page.
So basically a
really crappy Steam game.
Yeah. Not like it was like a big one to put like scary or anything like that.
It was not a big Steam game at all. And it looked like is that Pong?
I don't know what it looked like.
It was super okay, I'll bring it up.
But basically they had discovered that when you bought the game and installed it, that it would use, there was like another way for somebody to like manipulate your machine into mining crypto for it.
Yeah, you downloaded the game and you basically paid to mine crypto for somebody.
Which in that case is like kind of nefarious, but I've heard it used in the past through I think it was the Pirates Bay specifically, where they had something that was using people's GPUs to mine cryptocurrency, which in my own head, I was like, that's fucking genius. Like, I wouldn't do it. I think it's like pretty shady. But in the case of the Pirates Bay, it's like, okay, well, you're stealing shit already. So how pissed can you really get at them for stealing your resources, essentially?
I saw an article somewhere about Chrome actually possibly using your RAM to do stuff for them in the background.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them because it's Google. Like tech support a company when we needed like a DNS to just like temporary set up like a Google one, because Google is a free DNS. I think it's like 8.8.8.8. But basically they're like, you want to change it after you get like your internet service providers one, because it's Google, I was actually watching something this week where they were talking about a quantum computing engineer talking to some of like the top brass at Google at like a party or whatever, and they're just like having their little
their gin and tonics, or their no, they probably drink something like Tom Collins. They're all drinking Tom Collinses and noses in the air laughing. I got a perfect mental image of that.
So the quantum computing engineer was just like talking about like what he envisioned the future for like quantum computing is. It basically is like a form of computing that is able to process bits a little bit differently, because right now like traditional computers can only do like zeros and ones, and it's like very arduous and slow. And I don't want to like say too much because I don't really understand as much about it. But the way
You're not a quantum.
Yeah, I'm not
computer?
a quantum computer scientist. But he was saying basically he envisions a day where like quantum computing can be used to create a unbreakable like cryptography because of the processing power you would need to crack it. Like one being generated by a quantum computer would be like so large, like the cryptography would be so hard to break that they could make a like a search engine that could query things online and nobody would ever be able to know like what that person searched for. And like he's talking to like the top brass of Google and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's like really cool," or whatever. But then they fucking like come back like a couple days later and they're like, that's our entire business model right there. Like,
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, don't do that.
And unbreakable just sounds like a challenge to me because all those hacker types like a challenge.
Well, you wouldn't be able to do it unless you had quantum computing power. Like you can hack all you want if you don't have like the resources to have what the quantum computer would potentially provide, because they're not like to that state already. It's like still super basic. It's still like super experimental. Like the guy was saying they could basically they're at the point now where they can get a quantum computer to say like 3 times 5 is 15. And it's like that's not that complicated, but it's like going to become like the potential for it to become complicated.
I actually have a story about past future technology and this other stuff. Okay, so I've been watching Unsolved Mysteries a lot at home. I've been binging it. But there was an episode about this woman.
Dude, when that music came on as a kid, some fucking spooky shit was
I don't know why that song is so creepy, because it's relatively simple, but it's still creepy. But the unsolved mystery was there was a woman who invented the Dale car at 20th Century Motor Corporation.
Is that what that is? Is that what you got called up right there?
Yeah.
You call up a picture there?
Elizabeth Carmichael. Okay, so the story takes place during the gas crisis, and this woman, Elizabeth Carmichael, promises that she can get a car made that'll get 70 miles per gallon. It's got 3 wheels.
Like a fucking Reliant Robin type of shit?
Except flipped. So the 2 wheels are in front and the one's in the back.
Call up a picture of it.
The Dale car?
Yeah, you had it up there, but it was like super small. Concept image.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so it's in like the back. It's like a little bit more stable.
Yeah. But she promised 70 miles per gallon. And said that it was going to be that it was in production and all of this other stuff. And slowly this story started being investigated. And for those of you that are not aware, in Unsolved Mysteries, they do recreations of stories. So they do like reenactments and stuff with the people that were involved. And they had some of her co-workers that they were interviewing. They're like, yeah, she was a great lady. She just had this commanding presence, almost like a man. Like she was just driving it home. And she thought she was the next Henry Ford and a real innovator. And we all believed in this project. And then they pan to like the FBI agents and like the IRS that are investigating this story. And they were like, well, we never really got a project or any solid answers. So we started investigating this woman. And when they show Elizabeth Carmichael in the reenactments, I wasn't looking right away, but my girlfriend goes, they have a man playing her because she thought she was such a man. And I look up. Lo and behold, they had a man playing this woman. And then Brittany walks out of the room. She goes, I bet it was a man. And that was the kicker. Elizabeth Carmichael conned the entire United States as a transgender. It was a man playing a woman. And she conned California, Detroit, 3 states out of I think it's $3 million.
Now, was it like an actual transgender person, or was it just
it
like
was a
man?
dude. Here's the picture of this. This is who it actually was.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, was it a transgender person, or was it just a man posing as a woman?
Because posing as a woman. There was it was a man posing as a woman in the beginning, but he said, "Well, I'm going to get the surgery and all this other stuff. I'm taking hormones. But this dude conned 3 states, got away from the investigators from 1977 to 1989, I think. No, a little past 1989. So this guy raked in all this cash through this con, and it was just the most ridiculous story I've seen on there.
Well, my curiosity of it was like, did he like flip back to avoid detection? Like, was his like transgender role for this entire thing just to pull the con?
He stayed with that, and he actually had 6 kids too.
So that seems like some shit in the 80s that they probably do, just because it was like a different time. They're like a bit like insensitive to it. But like, we're also talking about like the like sensitivity of the issue, the way it like applies to this time when this person was actually like a shitbag for like completely other reasons and pulled this con.
But she was originally accused of selling sorry, I gotta highlight this, of selling dealer franchises that did not, and cars that did not exist, and then the DMV discovered that the company didn't have a state to manufacture any of the cars, and there was no evidence of these cars being manufactured. But she did have employees, and when they went to investigate, one of the FBI guys was like, yeah, we got into this car, the gas pedal wasn't attached. The inside of it was held up with 2x4s. Like, they showed clips of this car, and it was just this ramshackle, just like frame. He was like, the right wheel wasn't even attached. It was like held up by a cinder block. But just the employees that they interviewed who used to work there, like, really believed in this project. They said they'd all do it again, and they were like, we would have made it happen. Like, she had everything pulled over their eyes, and it was unreal to watch this story like unfold. A true innovator, Elizabeth Carmichael, and con artist. And I think at the end, she got a 10-year sentence. That's one thing I learned from Unsolved Mysteries. If you're going to go into crime, con for money, racketeer, and all that stuff, you get like the lightest sentences. It's ridiculous.
Still, it's like 10 years of your life, but like if you got it stashed away, you get to keep the money, right?
There was one where they did a Medicare scam, and this dude only did like 2 years, and he made like $30 million.
That they didn't like reclaim the funds as like part of punishment somehow, or
they don't elaborate on that aspect. I'm assuming they get a good chunk of it back, but you can't get all of it, right?
I'm assuming, like, if you were smart about if you were that smart to pull out the con, you must have had like a tactic to go about
retain
that. Who knows?
Something, but
who knows, man?
Just madness.
I mean, you're really selling me on like committing fraud here. Like,
the show's selling me on it. You'd think you wouldn't want to do it, but
now what I can't believe is the motherfucker who hosted that shit was an airplane.
Robert Stack.
Yeah.
That buttery voice of his.
Didn't he have like a son that was like abducted and never found, something like that, and that's why he started the show?
I don't know that aspect of the story, but I think our future con should be make a game like Abstractism and have people mine crypto for us.
So yeah, like that actually links back. Like the reason I wanted to talk to like about that first was to, like, segue to like it was Steam, and Steam recently came under a bunch of heat because they had a game that was basically like, it was a really shitty game too, but they had a game that was like basically a school shooting thing where you would play like the shooters.
They've had a couple like that, but I know what you're talking about.
But this is the one, it's not really like about the game in per se. It's about like the policy that Steam like put out there was that...
Which I believe the last time we talked about, they said you can do anything.
Right. Yeah, that's what they came out of it. They were just like, this is something where it's like, we're going to let the like person buying it decide, because we believe like that should be
that you should decide
choice.
How to spend your own money. You're a grown adult.
But they're they're a private company, and they have every right within themselves to dictate how they do business. And for them to do that, I think is cool. But I don't think it's cool that like that person gets like a platform to do that stuff. Not that it was like a good game anyways, and not that they probably made any money
Neither of these two games were good games by any stretch.
Yeah. But
Abstractism, the crypto mining game, looks terrible. It's literally like original video game graphics. Like I'm talking Galactica / Pong. Like it's single pixels and stuff.
Oh, that's the crypto one?
Yeah, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
I don't even know why someone would buy it.
Well, but that was the thing. They took that game off because that did violate their terms of service. This, I was like trying to segue into like the private companies as far as like what it pertains to Alex Jones this week, which was big news, getting what's been called deplatformed. Now, we've talked about him, like we love shitting on Alex Jones. Like we think he's like a shitbag pretty much. Do you agree? You agree, Stefan?
Just yelling at people is not. He just yells at people. I'm not down for that.
I don't personally like his message or material or what he's doing. Like, he's basically a con man who's
a fear monger.
Yeah, he's like mongering fear to basically sell a line of like supplements and stuff like that to like purify your water and like take out like these negative effects of like.
Did he jump on those 5-gallon drums of food too?
I don't know. It seems like an untapped market for him. Then. What was the name of the church that was doing that? It was like a evangelical TV church that was like doing that shit. But there's just like been a lot of talk. Well, first off, the people as like directly interacting with him. Like some of the screenshots I've seen is like Alex Jones just like bitching about like him getting deplatformed, and then people calling him out. It's like that's not actually how it happened. You deplatformed yourself to create a false flag operation, and
it backfired like a motherfucker.
No, it was like to create like some sort of like news scandal to just like get himself further along in the news.
Oh, that's what ended up happening? They actually
No, like they were just trolling him, like
gotcha.
using his own fire against him. So, but there's been some like interesting discussion about like the like implementation of it, just like basically these like larger companies that have the power to do this have like kind of for I wouldn't say the first time, but this is kind of like the first time someone as big as this has been unanimously shunned across multiple major platforms. Like, I think iTunes was the first to do it, and then everybody else followed. I think he got taken off of YouTube. He got all his shit taken off of iTunes, and there's like a couple more places. He's basically been reduced. You got the list?
He's been banned from Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Pinterest.
I can't imagine the fucking Pinterest community for fucking Alex Jones.
I feel like they just blocked all the memes at that point.
Could you imagine that? It'd just be like, you go on there and it's just like, oh, how to contain your lizard skin in 5 easy steps. It's like when I think Pinterest, I think like, you know, like arts and crafts or like
mother shopping at Better Homes. Yeah.
There's something I'm going to make from Michael's.
Now, when I said that InfoWars can't be found on Apple, it's still in the App Store. It's not on iTunes.
Oh, like his own app?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And you can find him on Twitter, because Twitter
is a slut. They're like the only big social media platform that allows full frontal nudity.
But that's because Twitter will do anything for the hits.
Right.
Twitter doesn't care.
God bless them. Not in for like them siding with Alex Jones. Not that they sided with him. But
they just know that he gets traffic,
right,
which is all they give a shit about. Is that so wrong? I mean, it's slightly morally wrong, I guess, to a level, but is it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like one of the things that have been tossed around a lot in these discussions was it was like these large companies that are some of like in the very near future, they're going to be like the large media conglomerates that are going to maybe replace something like Viacom or, you know, Fox, or not that Fox is like the parent company. You know what I mean? But there was like some talk about like, was it some of like the higher ups just like using their platform to flex their political will, or did it come from like, the managers of these companies? Like there's just some like debate on like who is actually like pulling the shots on here, because it was like a cascade of dominoes with just him getting pulled off of this platform, then that platform. Like he's been pulled off of like the big ones,
I think it's just his fear-mongering message, I think it's...
And I agree with that.
It's just because it's
I'm just playing devil advocate for like
it's just because it's a he's a fearmonger. They're calling him out for hate speech because he mongers fear against certain people and groups of people. So I think it's more of
like, we're talking about a man that will literally...
I think it's more of those companies don't want to be caught up in the windfall of supporting him when he finally plunges down the fucking basement stairs.
Right.
Because someone's about to push him down the basement stairs, and he's gonna end up at the bottom with his neck broken, and nobody wants to be caught up in that snowball.
The thing is, it just seems so weird how this thing has like spun, because my first exposure to Alex Jones and InfoWars was like well over a decade ago, like in the Bush administration. And in that time period, he was the one like calling like 9/11 was an inside job. Like he wasn't like this fucking like huge right person. Like he wasn't toting the right. He was just like this like
he's a conspiracy guy.
Anti-establishment, we gotta fight the globalists kind of person. And like I can't really say how he was now because I'm not
paying attention. I'm only hearing about him turning the frogs gay, and Hillary Clinton can't open a pickle jar. I think were the last two things I heard ever come out of his mouth.
I was trying to like think of something that Alex Jones, just like some outrageous shit that Alex Jones would say to like open up today. Just like being like, I'm gonna infiltrate YouTube through like pimple popping videos, and we're gonna pop the pustules on the back of Hillary.
But I think it's with the ongoing court case, they just don't want to be associated as the last platform holding him up in any way.
Now the crazy thing is like, what I think this is going to do is like the people who really listen to him. First thing is that I think the people who are really, really listening to him, I don't think those people really are that big of a threat. I don't think they hold that much sway. I just really don't. Like I've seen like some crazy conspiracy theory people.
It's the Bill O'Reilly ones you got to watch out.
Yeah. But genuinely, those are like the kind of types who are like, they're trying to blame a bunch of other stuff for like the things that are going wrong in their life. It's like almost like a alternate religion.
That's how it happens.
But like I feel like those people are like a lot of them are harmless. There are some like very dangerous people. Like it wasn't the
there's always dangerous people, and there's always some dangerous people in certain groups, but I think I think obviously the people that listen to InfoWars are going to be able to find InfoWars.
Yeah. That was going to be my thing. He still is driving like millions of hits through traffic through his own website.
He's still going to walk down the streets of New York and have a gaggle of dudes in camo pants with them. Like, but he's lining up to take a spill down the basement stairs, and YouTube, Spotify, and all them don't want to be the top stair.
That is probably the most eloquently I've ever heard you put something, to be honest. And on that note, let's take a little break. drink a little beer, write down an idea. It's suggestion box. This is the part of the show that started just me getting really drunk and writing down incoherent thoughts on cards because I thought they were funny.
He was getting ready to go live at the comedy club. And then the comedy club became a country bar.
Oh my God, I'm still fucking salty at that shit. Every time I go up there, it's fucking empty. And I was like fucking in there and I was like, oh, it's a country bar now. And I was like, that sucks. And the doorman was like, not really. Because he was like a dude in a Carhartt onesie.
He's a country guy.
Yeah, he was the country bro that I ended up like finding out nobody fucking liked that guy. He was weird.
That's the guy.
Not just because he was country bro. Like the other guy who was with him was like equally country bro. But he was like,
but everybody likes him.
He was just like behind him, like while this guy was talking to me, just like shaking his head, like, no. But then I was like in another empty bar, and like another bouncer was like talking to me. And I was like talking to the bartender. I was like, man, I really wish this was like a country club. And she just like started explaining to me. I was like,
comedy club.
Comedy club.
It is a country club.
She just started explaining to me like how I was wrong, that like my opinion of like wanting this to be a comedy club again. Like she was like, no, like my dad owns like the other comedy club across town. I was like, oh, whatever.
I just have an opinion. Just leave it.
Yeah, that's a real good way to keep a customer. Just tell them how fucking wrong they are. Not that I can't handle some like conversation like that, but it was just like, oh, geez, where's this coming from?
Maybe she was just trying to explain that the comedy market is weaning off because people don't like to laugh anymore. And
it's because the fucking actual world is such a farce that we just don't need the comedy.
We don't need the comedy anymore. We're living in some sort of weird vortex.
Oh, right. This is... So I actually like saw this on like a Facebook status and kind of inspired me to write this one. It's a girl who is trying to find a dress and selects one to try on in the store. And she can't get out of it because it's so tight. So like it was like based on like a legitimate fear that someone was like, oh, trying on the dress in the store. But it's like, you like the way it looks, but you can't get out of the dress.
How would you get into it? Just like, it's like a hand in a cookie jar situation?
I don't know. You just stuff it in, man. Just like...
Or like you zip it up and then it's a Stephen King movie and the zipper has a lock or something?
That's what I was going to say. Like, they're moving this into... It's like a predator dress. It's like actually like a snake unhinging its jaw.
Just and then
to,
it locks up?
Yeah. It just like starts to swallow the person whole and then like gets on and then they're like, oh, this looks great. But they don't know that it's actually like slowly starting to digest them. It was called a predator wedding dress.
It would be like that movie. Oh, I think it's a Tales. Was that Tales from the Crypt? Thinner? Where the guy gets the gypsy curse?
That was Stephen King.
It was? Oh, yeah, and he just keeps eating when he keeps losing weight. Except
he eats the pie. He wants to lose weight, and he eats the pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gypsy cursed pie. But she puts the dress on, and she just slowly... But that doesn't work, because then she'd waste away, and she'd be able to slip out of it.
Now, straight up, man, like, the way you phrased that, it just sounded like some cursed gypsy snatch, and it's like, aren't they all? I don't know any gypsies personally, so, like, I don't mean to be offensive, but, like, I have some, like, Irish family, and they're like, you gotta watch out for the gypsies, man. You gotta watch out for the caravan.
It's just like universal watch out for their twisted magics.
It's not even like the magic.
But I feel
like the nomadic tribes of them, they'll steal from you because it's like they have to survive.
I feel like they are self-aware of that stereotype, though.
Like, I'm not talking like give me your tears, gypsy woman. Like, look upon my wares, gypsy woman. I'm talking like nomadic tribes of gypsies.
Yeah, the RV camp came through and they stole my lawn chairs. Or they took my Weber grill, yeah.
My Stefan Weber grill.
I own that company. And Stefan Soccer. I'm a made man. I just like working and feeling like the common man.
Right. Like Andy Kaufman.
I got stock options, okay?
I got a startup, all right?
I got one.
Okay, you want to do one of yours?
Okay, I'm not 100% sure where this one's going.
Neither
But
was I.
it's Ant-Man.
Are we ever?
It's Ant-Man versus Man-Ant.
Man-Ant. 100%. All the way.
Ant-Man, like, he grows really big, but Man-Ant is average size, and he'd still have, like, 100 times the strength of a regular person. I feel like he'd just still be able to toss him up. But Ant-Man can get smaller still, so...
But the thing is, like, the strength that he has scales down. That's Ant-Man's whole thing. Does Man-Ant just, like, get weak? Like,
Well, Man-Ant doesn't change. His size doesn't have variable. He just has an exoskeleton and the strength of... He can lift
But he's got these, like, little...
100 times
He's
their
got
own
these
weight.
little noodle arms, right?
He's got the pincher head, though.
I'm getting, like, flashbacks to, like, fucking Them. That fucking movie where, like, the giant ants attack in the 1950s.
Oh, yeah, they had the radioactive nuclear kick where everything just grew to massive proportions.
That actually has, like, the same kind of connotation as something I had written down, but I didn't have, like, anything written for it. It was just, like, a clever title. It was The Dragon with the Girl Tattoo.
I think we might have...
No, this one was, like, fresh. But then I realized in writing, it was like, all I have is a funny title and nothing to go along with it because I haven't watched the movie. So I, like,
You
tried
haven't watched The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
No, I hear it's really
It
good.
is good. I did watch it.
I hear there's, like, some rape and then some revenge rape.
Yep.
And it's a little grisly. There's some, like,
There's some rape and some revenge.
financial espionage,
Yep.
something like that.
It's got a little bit of everything for a fan of psychological / thriller movie.
I like Daniel Craig a lot, except the one time they pulled the bait and switch with him with that fucking Golden Compass movie.
I did not actually see that because the book is a little out there because both my relatives, brother and sister, read it, and when they both read a book and they don't
start going, oh yeah,
They
you
don't-
like that, bro?
they don't-
Yeah, I like that, sis.
they don't say anything about it after it's done. Maybe it wasn't very good. Like not a peep about it. Just I read the Golden Compass. Book closed.
I didn't even really know it was like a book at first. I just remember like seeing previews for the movie and Daniel Craig like being in the previews and them like starring Daniel Craig.
Would they Boromir him and kill him in 5 seconds or what?
I don't know what happened to him, but he was only in the movie for like 2 seconds. They just pulled a bait and switch with him. They did the same thing with Bryan Cranston in the newer Godzilla, like the American Godzilla.
The animated one on Netflix?
No, like the blockbuster movie that came out.
In 2000?
No, that's the fucking Matthew Broderick one. I love that one, man. Everybody hates that one, but I fucking love
What
that
Godzilla are you talking about?
one. There was another one in like 2015, I want to say. It was like within the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah. I
And-
forgot about that.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston is like this nuclear physicist.
He's in it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's in it for like the beginning 10, and then he dies. And then it's his son that takes over. But it was still good.
But they starred Bryan Cranston because Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it was like off of like the coattails of that.
He really is a great actor, though. I saw him. He was in a Seinfeld episode I was watching.
Oh, the fucking dentist?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are so many people in Seinfeld. That
Right?
are-
It is ridiculous.
I was watching the Alcoholics
Fucking Mark
Anonymous.
Metcalf is in that shit. You fucking boy, man. He's like Bob and Brian, like local Milwaukee fucking legend Mark Metcalf is. I hear he's a real prick in real life, but like my first Admiral game ever, I saw him do the human hockey puck. And I was like, oh, that's fucking Mark Metcalf. Mark Metcalf, for those of you out there who don't know, is Niedermeyer from Animal House. And then he just got like typecast. You got a picture of him? Got a
I
portrait?
was trying to bring one up. I think I typed it wrong.
Yeah, that is him. That is him. Yep. That's Mark Metcalf. But like, bring up young him. He's just like a young Adolf Hitler. And he was like in a.
I'm gonna bring up the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, he was in some like Seinfeld episodes. And,
He's from Milwaukee.
I don't know if he's actually from Milwaukee, but he's on Bob and Brian a lot. And he was at the fucking.
Oh, there he is. This is him in the Seinfeld episode. Okay.
Yeah, he does seem like a one to just like get in odds with Kramer. Other roles he reprised his like being a prick stickler was Where the Buffalo Roam, where Bill Murray played Hunter S. Thompson. He was just like some douchebag on a plane.
That was a very good movie.
You like that movie?
Yeah.
I didn't like it that much.
Was it as like Fear and Loathing, puts you through the loops, but Where the Buffalo Roam was more.
I think the best Hunter S. Thompson adaptation was the Rum Diaries.
The Rum Diaries, I haven't seen that one.
As far as like being like truthful to the novel, I feel like the Rum Diaries was something that it took it to like where like you understood in Fear and Loathing that Hunter S. Thompson was Hunter S. Thompson, and he was there with his attorney, and they were just like on this absurd journey. And like a lot of people only took like, oh, drugs and stuff like that, but they didn't really like express like the point of the novel, which he was like there to like, he wrote this like thing about like the American dream being the big win, basically, and Las Vegas being the embodiment of like just making it big.
The American making it big. And man, that city's scummy.
Right. Like,
want to take a look at yourself in the mirror, America? It's Vegas.
So,
bums and all.
I think as far as movies go, for like his novels, the Rum Diaries. I actually like went on.
That's still Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
and that came out 4 or 5 years ago.
Longer than that. I want to say so. I went on a date with a girl who was just like, oh yeah, like I love like, Fear and Loathing and like Hunter S. Thompson and shit. Like I was like, oh great, let's go see the Rum Diaries.
2011. I was pretty close.
Yeah. I was like, great, let's go see the Rum Diaries or whatever. She's like, yeah, great. And then like afterwards, I learned that she didn't even know that this was like a Hunter S. Thompson novel originally. And I mean, like, what? Like
for most people out of our generation, like you already said, it was all about the drug-fueled rampage of Fear and Loathing.
Right, particularly with artists.
It was not Hunter S. Thompson's writing ability or the stuff he's done in the past with his extremely large repertoire of writings and editorial pieces.
He did editorials. Yeah. He did like sports articles and columns in magazines. But basically what he would do is he would write about himself as a character, giving him the power to embellish the situation. He would write like it really happened, but it like didn't happen like that. Like it was based on truth, but it was extremely exaggerated. That's like what his like Raoul Duke character was. It was just something that he actually saw, and then he just like ran with things that like could have like gotten a little bit more extreme. That's like where he got his characters from.
I'll admit I haven't read. Okay, I read one Hunter S. Thompson piece, but I haven't read Hunter S. Thompson really. I'll admit that.
And I like kind of hate to like in post HST being cool era. There's like a lot of people who just like shit on people. It's like, oh, people for the same reasons I was saying, like they were into him for like the wrong reasons.
Yeah, the Fear and Loathing drug fueled rampage of I totally missed the message.
Right. But even that, like his best book, in my opinion, was Hell's Angels. It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I've only read some excerpts from that. That's the only stuff I've read because it was in your bathroom
It is.
I used that.
Oh yeah.
And I used that bathroom when I used to live here. That's where I got my Hunter S. Thompson bit from. And then I saw Where the Buffalo Roam, which, like I was saying previously, I liked that one because I thought it was easier to derive the point from versus Fear and Loathing's drug-fueled visual escapade.
I feel like if you read the novel and watched the movie, it like
Be vastly different.
Yeah, like the movie doesn't go so far as to like bastardize the novel. I feel like they're good complements to each other. I really do. But being the nature of like the man's just escapades and shit like that, they like turned it into this like psychedelic romp overall. Which I guess is like a good way to, you know, have the hit single and then get like a few people to like dig a little bit deeper into it, you know. Wow, derailed from the comedy there. Jeez. Whew.
We get deep, though.
Yeah, you and me, we do.
That's what I was telling you. Without Sean, it goes
R.I.P.
a little deeper. Sorry, big guy.
So this was an idea for a newspaper.
When you say it's an idea for a newspaper, you mean like an article, like a Onion
it's
thing, like
it's like
Wall Street Journal?
The Wall Street Journal, but it's called the L.A. Trine. So it's like playing on the word, like a trine being like a full 120 degrees. And I was thinking it could start as like a show where it's like 2 hours long. It's going to give you like the real scoop on the shit. And then Larry Flint would buy it. And he'd turn it into just like a fucking smut magazine.
Oh, yeah, you like that?
So for those of you that might have snuck by, it's the latrine. after you put the LA Trine together.
And Larry Flint is he's an author. He's the author. He's a publicator of sexual graphic novels and magazines, like Hustler.
Now, a lot of people go to Hustler first, but I go to Big Brother. Because Big Brother was the primordial ooze that led to Jackass. There was a Big Brother skate mag, and they were. Did you ever hear of Big Brother?
No.
Big Brother was basically what National Lampoon was in the 70s. It's just like a bunch. It's almost like borderline pornographic that you could get. It's like a very risque Mad magazine. So, like, you had Trans World Skateboarding, which was, like, the goody two-shoes, like, skateboard mag.
Oh, okay. Here's a good...
Bring that picture back up.
Yeah, that's... Let me find...
So,
here is a good look at what an album...
Is that Young Steve-O? Oh, no.
There's a good cover of the magazine.
What they did is they, for the first couple issues, they just like completely changed up like what it was. Like the first issue was
just a regular Trans World.
I think it was like they had a bunch of ideas and it was like very vulgar and
big trips.
They slapped it together and were basically like, we know this is super shitty, so here it is for free for all you that subscribe.
Yeah.
And then like the second one was like a binding thing with like. It wasn't a magazine. It was like a plastic binding and like a flip book and stuff like that. They eventually did just like a regular magazine cover, but they came out with like covers like this that were just like ridiculous. So basically you had like Trans World Skateboarding and you had Thrasher, which were like the party drinker ones. And fucking... or like the Judd Nelson character, like if you were a badass, if you were like skate or die, you read Thrasher, you looked at Thrasher.
Yeah.
But Big Brother came along and they just kind of like started injecting like these funny articles into it as well that were like super crude.
Yeah, crude comedy.
Like how to kill yourself or something like that. And then what made them essentially blow up was, Midwestern mothers. Just like, oh no, little Johnny can't buy
Johnny, this is sugar-coated penis pops. What are you getting in the mail here? have to shut this down. Here's a Oompa Loompa, world's highest ollie, wee man. Yeah, I can
was
see
that Transworld?
No, this is Big Brother.
Oh, that is Big Brother. Okay, so skateboarding.
Yeah, but I never got this one. I had Transworld and I had Thrasher. I never got Big Brother, but I hopped on the mag train pretty late.
That was like our generation's like Mad Magazine, where you could get like some shit that you probably weren't supposed to look at like a young age. It was like a step below porno mag. But then Larry Flint bought it, man.
And then it just went full on.
No, they actually tried to get him to like tone it down a little bit because they're like, we're a publishing company, and they basically moved into this office in New York, I think it is. Or the Hustler company. I don't know what the parent company of that is, but basically they had a office on the outside rung of the building, and they just like put fuck on the side of the building. So
is it still there today?
No. I don't know if they still are owned by that, but this what a lot of people don't know is that this is what like led to Jackass. They started doing video. That's where Johnny Knoxville was. He came into the fray and he was like, I'm going to do an article. Like, he's not even a skater. And they're just into like a bunch of like this like crazy fringe content. So they're going to write an article, or Johnny Knoxville is going to write an article about different types of self-defense weaponry. And we all remember that video.
Speaking of Jackass, did you know a guy who went to high school, one of the Gary boys, is doing a new Jackass on MTV? It's called Too Stupid to Die.
What?
Yeah.
What? Gary boys?
Remember a couple of those guys moved from Gary up to Germantown?
Oh.
Yeah, one of them's doing the new Jackass. It's called Too Stupid to Die on MTV.
Yeah, that whole gaggle of fucking people.
It's a lot of tacks. They just jump on tacks and stuff.
I mean, is it actually associated with Jackass? Is it like a Jackass second generation?
It's a second gen type deal.
Jackass, the next generation.
But I mean, like, it's a lot of tacks. I'll see if you can you tell which one it is?
No, I can't.
You can't tell which one of these guys was the guy.
No, because no.
Okay. But yeah, they're doing like a new Jackass thing. I just saw it.
I'm sorry, man. I'm a millennial. I don't have fucking cable. Sorry.
I actually saw it when I re-registered on the Fab. The Zucked book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I needed it for the hockey league.
Right.
Stuff
I already added you. You already showed up. They know.
Yeah, I know, because they
know.
They knew everything already because I did it from my phone. So it was just like, here's people that you might know. And I was like, oh, it's all the same people from before.
Just add the ones you trust.
I'm trying not to add any of them because
what about me, man?
Everyone is so political on there. It's weird.
Maybe the ones that you have left,
or a lot of them just don't post anymore.
I don't see that much.
A lot of them just don't post.
Did you check the age
of the posts?
Yeah.
Some of them haven't posted for years. But
okay. You want to do a read?
Yeah, I have a read. I got an addition to the Canadian Cinematic Universe. His name is Justin Theroux.
But it's thorough.
He's very thorough.
He's very thorough. How thorough? And in
like
what?
He's their great detective / prime minister.
He's like their sociopathic Sherlock Holmes.
Yes. He's on top of it. He gets all the clues.
So who's his fucking Watson? You got one of those? It's like Dan Aykroyd, something.
I don't. I do not have a Watson for him. I didn't think about that. I just thought Justin Theroux.
Justin Theroux. So I feel like he, in order to like downsell his, because that's the thing, they have this supernatural ability, but they're using it in just like mundane situations. I feel like he would be Canadians' TSA agent.
Where, I mean, what crimes do they really have in Canada? So
yeah, he'd be Border Patrol, like getting on the plane, and he'd be like, "Hello, I'm Justin Thorough." Glove snap. I'm going to stick 3 fingers into your ass to find the fuse, dude.
Or he just picks up on. He just knows where people left the keys in the Hall of Justice or whatever the fuck they have.
Yeah, do we have to figure out what our beer league's Hall of Justice is going to be?
It's just called the locker room.
We'll have to find like a lesser known, a small ice rink. Interesting statistic.
The Halifax ice rink.
I think Canada has something like 3,000 ice centers, and America only has like 1,000, something like that.
And we have like 5 right here.
Yeah, we have a shitload ton just in Milwaukee.
I'm trying to get them all together so I can figure out when I can skate because I haven't skated recently.
Now, I was actually thinking of that too because like you think 5 in the proximity of Milwaukee, which is a big city, but not like a huge city. You would think that many. We got the Wilson Center, we got the Pettit Center, which is an Olympic training center that has 2 rinks. We have 2 in Brookfield, and there's 1 more, I think.
I think there's one in Ozaki County, and I thought there was one in Mequon for some reason, but I think
there is one in Mequon.
Mequon, Round Deerish.
And you would think 6 in an area, but like there's 50 states, and there's 1,000 ice arenas or something like that. So that doesn't seem that like ridiculous, you know?
Here's my thing. I am having... granted, I haven't done too much work on this, but I'm having a hell of a time getting all of their schedules together and where they all are and stuff like that. Like, at least for the programs that they actually offer. Like, I can get their week schedule of this is when we have open ice, but there are supposedly like scrimmages going on every weekend that I don't see on their calendar and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm also just not a really good looker for things. That's why I need Justin Thorough.
This one might be a good god or a deity for the CCU. Like I didn't put it like as the
like
intention of being like that, but I would just like throw it out there. The Pooh Bear Buddha. So basically, it's just like Pooh Bear, but he's got this big, like he has the Pooh Bear belly, and he is just Buddha to a subset of people.
That's what that eunuch guy is the cult leader for.
Fucking Ridcock.
Yeah, Ridcock is the cult leader for Pooh Buddha, who only promotes wholesome goodness.
Oh, if you could just come and give me some honey. Emphasis on come.
I'd say oh bother, but that's probably trademarked.
Right. You have to say hello there. I can't believe that fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi is Christopher Robin in the new Pooh
You're
movie.
Ian McGregor?
McGregor.
He was in a caper film that Johnny Depp did. He played a detective, and Johnny Depp was some sort of con man, or he got caught up in a con, and it had to be the worst movie I'd ever seen. I saw it in a movie premiere. It was a low point for me and Ian McGregor.
Macaulay Culkin was on Rogan this week, and he was talking about Johnny Depp, and he made the quip that he thinks Johnny Depp is actually entirely made of scarves now. I was like,
I'm gonna have to check that out. Well, the movie I was talking about with Johnny Depp and Ian McGregor is called Mordecai, and it was
Ewan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard to skip that one.
Olivia Munn was in it too, and Jeff Goldblum, and Yeah.
Goldblum.
It is in highlights.
Yeah.
It's in highlight. I love Jeff Goldblum though, but it's in highlights right here for a clickable link that it was a box office bomb. So you can go.
Yeah. I did hear about that.
It was bad. I got a free movie premiere for it.
Apparently, Depp is going down the Cage like path where his lifestyle that he's used to. He's like
unsustainable.
Yeah, it's unsustainable, so he has to keep doing these like movies that aren't that great.
Yeah. So how was Macaulay Culkin doing? Because I think a lot of times
Macaulay Culkin looks fucking fantastic, dude.
Good. Because the couple things, there was a long time where everyone was just like, he's going downhill. It's all over. And then he kind of got his shit together and he started swinging back up. And every now and then you catch these little YouTube videos or whatever else he's been doing and you just get this stupid little smile on your face because they're awesome. Mm-hmm. Was he good on Rogan?
A lot of people said that they didn't have chemistry, but from like the segments and the highlights I watched, it was like pretty funny. I thought it was like interesting to just like get the statistic thrown out there that he's 37 now. I didn't know he was like that much older than me, but like, you know, you kind of like associate him with like your childhood and like being that same age. But it was like interesting to listen to him talk about what was normal to him growing up as like a child actor, because like he didn't have like a normal childhood. I want to, yeah, he's looking good. He's looking fucking really good. Yeah, go to that one right there. Yeah, it looks fucking great.
Yeah.
It doesn't look strung out or anything.
Yeah, he was looking bad there for a little bit. Yeah, this was probably one of the last times I saw him. He was looking like this, which wasn't looking too bad. He's just having a good time.
All right. We're at about 80 minutes. You want to take a break?
Sure.
We will BRB.
Music, rap, and hip-hop have taken a fall. It's only us two left.
So now it's just metal!
I mean, I'm sure we'll mix it up in the coming weeks, but at least for me, this week, it's definitely going to be a metal album. So
Me too.
I have
#me too.
Melissa by Merciful Fate. Do you know anything about Merciful Fate?
I do not. By name.
Okay. Lead singer, King Diamond. This very grim looking man.
He looks like what's that guy from House of a Thousand Corpses? The fucking clown guy.
Captain Spaulding.
Yeah, Captain Spaulding. I love that fucking guy. I actually had a in the style of Tom Hanks talking to Wilson. I had a skull that I called Spaulding for the longest time that I would just like talk to.
So Merciful Fate is from Denmark. They're Danish. They're a heavy metal band. They formed they formed probably a little earlier than 1983, but they had a release in 1983, and I'm pretty confident that was Melissa. Yeah, this was their first album. So your guitarists are Hank Sherman and Michael Denner. Michael Denner went on to continue with King Diamond in his... Oh, no, I'm sorry. He did not continue with... I'm sorry. I don't know all the facts yet.
I just got a fucking idea for like a suggestion box style artist. Fucking King Neil Diamond. It's fucking black metal disco, dude.
But so Merciful Fate had King Diamond, Hank Sherman on guitar, Michael Denner on guitar, Timmy Grabber Hansen on bass, and Kim Ruz on drums. And these guys had a band without King Diamond a little bit before Merciful Fate. They were called the Brats, I believe. So being a heavy metal band from the 1980s, they have that transition of eras that I really like. So it's got this commercial.
So it was 83 when they started, so it was like early 80s,
Yeah.
what, like the leftover slop from the 70s going in?
A little
Or
bit.
just like some early 80s stuff?
Early 80s stuff. And
Because like cock rock didn't really take the world by storm until the late 80s.
okay, well then this is early, kind of has this early cock rock guitar feel to it,
Really?
in my opinion. Because
Proto cock rock?
because Hank Sherman, their guitarist, and King Diamond will later on have a dispute about Hank Sherman wanted to go with a way more commercial approach. He wanted to appeal to the masses with a commercial sound, and
Hank Sherman wanted to eat.
yeah. And King Diamond said, I want to sing about Satan in falsetto. And Hank Sherman said, but I want money. And King Diamond would strike off solo. I mean, it didn't kill the relationship because King Diamond has said, I will do stuff with Merciful Fate, and I think they're actually planning something.
They worked it out like adults.
Yeah, and I think in the future there will be more Merciful Fate, but holy crap, the first half of this album is just amazing. The opening track, Evil, just roped me in, and it wasn't just King Diamond wailing falsetto style, which is something I've said on here previously I'm not a huge fan of. And I actually was not a King Diamond fan whatsoever before this. I've actually made fun of him quite a bit for his style. But it works. The style on this album works together, and I have been jamming it pretty much for a week and a half. This album's kept coming up for me. So
Was this like your first exposure to it, or have you been...
This was my first exposure to Merciful Fate, because I kind of always put it to the side. I was like, King fucking Diamond. I've seen the pictures of Merciful Fate together, and everybody looks like they're having a bad time because they're stuck hanging out with King Diamond. Like, I'll bring up a couple photos here. Like, look at these guys. King Diamond's grim and on it, and the other guys are just not having it. They're just like, why is this dude doing this to us?
Right? It's like fucking... some KVLT with the fucking with ABBA behind him.
There's one where they're in a graveyard and the band in the back is just like, why the fuck are we doing this? I can't find it, but
It's like Captain Spaulding and his victims.
Yeah, but the first, because when this came out as a cassette, the first half of this album is absolute ripper songs. They're well constructed, really well thought out. King Diamond shows his vocal range, which is actually really stunning. I'm still not a fan of his sustained falsetto stuff, but he does have a really good vocal range, and it is pretty appealing to me, having listened to it now a couple more times. And then the second half of the album, with songs like Satan's Fall and Melissa kind of wean off on me. Satan's Fall has way too much falsetto stuff in it for me, and it times in at a whopping almost 12 minutes.
I mean,
It is a long song.
there's just something about oops. There's just something about Satan and falsetto that don't quite go together to me with like this day and age.
And then the closing track, Melissa, is like I don't want to call it a ballad, but it's a slower song, and it kind of threw me out of the rockin' groove. I got thrown out of the ditch. But Evil, Curse of the Pharaohs, Into the Coven, like, they're well constructed. King Diamond tells a story. That's kind of his style. He likes making likes painting an elaborate picture and a tale
like
in
some
his
Dio,
tracks.
something like that. You know, some dungeons, some dragons.
Like Into the Coven is about bringing people into the witch's coven. Curse of the Pharaohs, take a guess what that's about. Like, I really am enjoying this album.
Lich King of the Titanic.
I'm really enjoying this album. I think the guitar work is... Some of it's pretty simple, but when it's all put together, it just sounds great. I love it. I think I'm now able to see why people are rocking Merciful Fate. I'm turned on. I'm hard for Merciful Fate.
Kind of sounds like when it rolls off the tongue, it sounds like Faith No More.
But
Merciful Fate.
when you look at King Diamond's solo stuff, it's vastly different. I mean, obviously it's still King Diamond singing, but the guitar and instrumental work is definitely way different than the stuff from Merciful Fate. Merciful Fate, I get images of dudes jumping around in onesies and leotards. I know they weren't at the time, but they were definitely rocking, denim jeans and leather jackets.
But that stuff didn't really hit until like the late 80s.
But they're rocking, man.
Like there's that whole transitional phase into the cock rock, which was dominant in the late 80s, and then the same kind of like flabbergasted attitude permeates like a lot of the artists who got taken over from cock rock by grunge, because it just like took over. You have that so that's kind of interesting to hear that, like, that's like where it's stemming from, just like that falsetto 80s style in the early 80s translating into what like dominated the style in the later 80s, and then just like knowing how those people felt once like bands like Pantera and like these grungier, like dirtier, more depressed kind of like overtones and like the style of music came out. Like you have like Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Soundgarden. Those like the big ones. I wish I knew more about like the underbelly of grunge, but there's only so much you can know
only
about,
goes
like,
so deep for us
really
on the surf. I mean, I know it goes
I thought you were
deeper,
going to say subculture.
but I mean, for a lot of us, it's all surface skimming for grunge for a lot of us, because it was it's what was presented to us on MTV and stuff like that.
Like Sam was referencing that fucking song, Where Are You Going With Tomorrow? I always thought the fucking next vocal in that song...
Soundgarden?
No, I forget what it was. I was just talking about it with Sam.
Eddie Vedder?
It sounds like them because they all adopted that style.
Pearl Jam?
But I always used to think that he says, where are you going tomorrow? Where are you going with the master plan? He's actually saying, with the mask I found.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, huh?
But to put it into perspective, so Merciful Fate drops this album 1983. They're booked to tour with Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy ends up canceling the tour. But these guys later on would end up touring with bands like Man of War, Motorhead, Twisted Sister, Metallica in the early years, like Lita Ford, stuff like that.
One of the things...
So it's got that kind of heavy... That's the kind of heavy metal it is.
Yeah,
and then it
I don't associate Twisted Sister with like cock rock, really. I more associate them with anthems, but more recently, what I've associated, not necessarily Twisted Sister, but Dee Snider with, was him going to court with the lead for the Dead Kennedys.
Oh,
like,
for
not court, but Congress, like
for
testifying
the
in front of
censorship stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously well-spoken dudes.
Yeah, they like Dee Snider walked into Congress looking like Dee Snider in the 80s, just not in drag, and was like presented a better case than this, basically this
attorney, prosecutor, whatever.
A church lady, a Dana Carvey church lady archetype.
You gotta think of the children.
Won't you please think of the children? Could it be Satan?
But for this album, if you don't want to sit and listen to the whole thing, I would recommend the first 3 tracks. Evil, you definitely have to check out. Curse of the Pharaohs and Into the Coven are also definitely worth checking out. And then, actually, it's not on this album, but it's on an album called Beginning. The track is known as Doomed by the Living Dead. That's a good one, too. Vast vocal range, great guitar work. Overall, I'm going to give it like an 8 out of 10. Overall for the album.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely have to check that out just through the like interest of like learning a bit more about like where the 80s like evolved through. I'm just like calling up my I wanted to get some like info. I should have like kind of
usually I get notes down and stuff, but
what I've been trying to do for this format was like try to like take as much in as I can, and then like talk from like the hip, just to like kind of put my own like style and analysis over it. So I wasn't like depending on like hard facts, because I'd like to like give like some hard facts, but I'd also like to just like give my my own analysis on it. So
yeah, I hear you. I just usually try to get a couple notes so I can give some facts, but lately at work it's just been a lot of micromanaging going on, so I'm not able to.
So you got to look on your own time. What you're looking at this stuff at work? What?
Yeah,
what do you say?
Yeah. So.
This week's album came from Ryan Oswald, guest on the show a couple weeks ago. Last weekend, I put up a Give Me Your Weird Music thread on Facebook, to which I always have outstanding results. As long as I put like a good amount of time between them. If you put up a thread and make it about like, what are you into? Like, give me some of what you're into. Like, those end up being like really good threads. Even on Facebook, even though it's the Zuck. The Zuck space. So Ryan had recommended me this band. I was like, give me your weird music. He recommended me this band called Igor. It's
like EYEG.
No, like Igor, as in Frankenstein's assistant.
Sorry, yeah, Frank.
But with 3 R's. IGORRR.
I'm sorry. What is that movie with Gene Wilder? It's
Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, I actually sent him. I actually sent him a GIF of What Hump. Just like looking at this stuff, and this was like the thread winner. Like, all you guys out there that submitted music, there's some great stuff in there, and I listened to all of it all the way through. But this is the thing that just blew me away. I was like, wow, this is like the fresh new thing I needed to like listen to. It made me want to put it on again. And so the album is by Igor. It is called Savage Sinusoid. And it is by a Frenchman. I don't know his actual name, but yeah, if you could look up the album art for this, it's very weird. It's like kind of an
What was the album again?
Savage Sinusoid. So basically what I would describe this as, the first time listening to it, the song that I was presented called Humanus is like the hands down like stranglehold over the album. This is like the most memorable song of the album. It starts out with accordion, just solo accordion, and it's playing like a kind of like rhythmic passage. But it's the thing about Igor is he has this amalgamation of styles, but it's like cohesive styles. He blends black metal with opera and like Baltic styles.
This sounds like it's appealing to me.
It's very Euro. There's not much like lyrical work to it. Oh, and there's like a big sprinkling of electronic manipulation over it. What I was referring to it as, this track in itself, I called it power hype, because the song it like establishes a motif and then like kind of like switches what the style is by like incorporating other instruments into it. Like if you start at the beginning of this album, you're going to have an entirely different perspective on like what you're about to experience, versus if somebody puts this song in front of you, it just starts out with like accordion, just like it's just accordion. And then all this other shit come in. Like I'm talking operatic vocals soaring, fucking blast beats, blatant blast beats.
Shameless
Absolutely
blast
shameless
beats.
Then fucking like distorted 808 GABA style bass drum, just blown out bass. Back to blast beats, with fucking like these bass lines that are crafted by somebody who is obviously like into like more of like a fusion-y style. So this I could see that this climax of this album and in this track came from somebody who basically developed a music style by taking like a bunch of them and cramming them together, like we like to do
look
now.
at this album cover.
Just solo. Yeah, look at this. Yeah,
I get the feeling of where you're going with this. They're all just shoved in there.
Yeah. So like it started out as just like a guy, I believe, and it didn't become like a full lineup until 2017.
With like session musicians he's pulling in and stuff?
No, I think he was just like doing it in like a bedroom for a while. He had like other ones.
No, I meant for his musician pull. Like he pulled in session musicians or he got other people.
I don't know. I can't actually say. That'd be interesting to dig into. I think they're doing it live, so I would think like some session musicians, and like I think they're actually able to pull this off live. And I would love to fucking see it. But overall, the what I took away from it was that it didn't take itself super seriously because of the amalgamations of style. It would like set itself at like the beginning of this song after you listen to like the first two tracks and then you get this one interjected into it. It's like, oh, this is kind of silly. And then you'd get like these long, like kind of like intense, very like berating, blasting, grating segments. You know, like I love punishment in music. It's one of my favorite things is punishment and reward.
Like the punishment.
Punch it, baby. Just come on. With this album, I feel like once it gets like too serious, once you have like a length of time where it's like, oh, this is operatic and this is like super classical, it just basically flips it on its head and just like, nope, like shits on it. Like as far as like Baltic and like European style and like kind of like that gypsy vibe, they literally have sound bites of like chickens clucking in this song. Like accordions and chickens clucking merged together with like blast beats and GABA is like and opera. It has it all. It has it all. What more could you want?
So do they get a chicken for that part, or
actually,
they go hate beak on us?
If
or
you
what?
look up Igor on his Wikipedia, there's actually a picture of him just like sitting in a chair with a chicken, like very well done. Like
that's actually my pet chicken.
Not the album, but the artist. Yeah, there he is. Actually, I think on some of the credits I looked at earlier, there is actually like a credit for the chicken.
It must be his. I bet he has a pet chicken. Yeah, these guys look pretty black metal.
Yeah, that's one of like their main styles that they like say like it does have like I'd say the glue that holds it together is metal and heaviness, but there's all these other styles that just get like brought into the fray that just make you kind of forget what the fuck you're listening to. It's wild.
Oh, look at this. They had collaboration with Mayhem guitarist Tellock. That's pretty cool.
I don't know who that is. Is he the guy who got 8?
No, he's Mayhem's current guitarist, who is very good in his own right. I actually like the last album they put out quite a bit. It's not... the last album they put out is called Esoteric Warfare. It's good, but it's really hard to follow in the footsteps of Ordo AD Chaos, because that album...
Now, what is that? Ordo AD Chaos?
The guitarist on that album was known as
it's a guy's
Blasphemer.
name.
That was Mayhem's album.
Okay.
But it was at that time, although Mayhem was still black metal, they transitioned to this avant-garde style, and that album as an avant-garde album is pretty groundbreaking. There's no repetition in anything in the songs. They continuously grow from beginning to end.
It's just so hard, like It's so hard to write, and it's so hard to get people who appreciate that. Because that style, as somebody who like writes music, it's like if you can write a song where there isn't like repetition in it, that is like the musician's dream. Like not to speak for all of them, but playing the same shit over and over again, especially if you play the same shit over and over again in a song, gets very boring. And like there's this bias as musicians to mix it up too much. And I like the shit that indulges in that, where the musicians like do that, where you have a motif basically that you follow, and then you just trash it and move along to the next thing, but make it cohesive.
It also represented a shift in their lyrical content too, because their vocalist Attila, I'm gonna butcher this last name, Shazar, who did the original vocals on Mysteries de Satanis, because Dead obviously killed himself, so he was the one that was called in for lyrics, shifted the lyrical focus more towards our favorite thing, reptilians. And aliens turning humans into a workforce for them. But yeah, that's a pretty interesting one. That's cool that Igor did stuff with Telok. I like him. He's an interesting guy.
I meant to stop that way earlier. All right. There was one more story, and it kind of has to do with music. But it's more news. The Danzig movie. You wanted to talk about
the Danzig movie?
I mean, you seem pretty excited to talk about it earlier.
Let me bring this story up again. But he made a contract supposedly with.
Son, to deal with the devil on highway. We have this joke about Danzig in his latest single, Highway. What is it? Devil on Highway 9.
Highway 9. Oh boy.
Yeah, about him basically being put in front of a microphone and a nurse like pushing on his stomach just to get the fucking wind out of his lungs.
So out of breath. Okay, so Danzig's making a movie, right? And he signed with Cleopatra Entertainment, who I'm not familiar with, and this is going to be focused on Danzig's.
Oh! Look at that.
Danzig's erotica comics.
No.
So, the statement made
is
somewhere
Sigourney
in here,
Weaver gonna play Danzig?
I hope so. She's got the thin frame and face that he wishes he had. But supposedly
but she's got the lizard man jaw.
Yeah, supposedly somewhere in here there's a statement about Danzig's success making products, basically, and him just being able to have a very strong record of marketing himself and the products that he enjoys, which I don't know how true that is.
So is there like any like tidbits on like what the movie is going to be about, or is it just going to be like Danzig's scaly porn fiasco?
Well, what I have right here in this article is Danzig will pen, direct, and compose music for the feature film, which is going to be great. Devil on Highway 9 will be in there.
Oh, God. Danzig directing, that just has fucking box office poison.
It's based on Danzig's own popular Verotic comic book characters, so let's get a look at Verotic.
Yeah, what's Verotic here? Who's this? It basically Devil Young Man Danzig. Of erotic.
Looks like a Harvey Flint. Was that the guy you were talking about earlier?
No, the guy who owns Hustler. Larry Flint.
Larry Flint. It looks like some Larry Flint stuff here. I don't know what any of these are because I have not ever.
I mean,
read
some
them.
of this looks fun. I could fap to this, but Actually, we can't put this on Twitch. We can't put this on YouTube. We can't put tits and shit.
Look at this one.
God damn it, Stefan. All right, we're going to have to cut all this shit out.
This is Danzig right there. I'll just stare at him.
Look into the gaze of Danzig. All right.
Is he a lizard? Is he Scorny Weaver?
I think it is time to call it a wrap.
It was fun. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Thanks for joining us.
You'll have to let this hold you over till
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. I'll be out of town, just a reminder. And I am sorry. It sounds like that 22-inch double-sided dildo I bought is
just gonna go to waste. Just give it to Sean. He won it.
Stick it in his mailbox.
Yep. Just we'll get a nice lacquer on some wood.
Just staple a note to it.
I mean, I was gonna say like the loser should get it.
Well, I mean, you get to hit him with it, and then you could give it to him. But
all right. So, in the words of Sean himself,
I'm the best host.
Good day. Good day to you, sir.